WGTK gives you Let's Talk with Dr. Stan Frager. From relationship problems to family feuds, he's got all the advice and expert help you'll need. Now, here's Dr. Stan Frager.
Hi, welcome everyone. Always nice to have you with us every Sunday night, 8 until 10 o'clock. Is our time together, and want to introduce you to some folks now who are joining our Sunday night family. We're going to shift gears a little bit and learn, and we're going to talk about relationships. Why don't you understand? A Gender Relationship Dictionary is the name of the book, written by Dr. Karam Gail Lewis. And Dr. Lewis has worked with families for some 39 years now in both Washington, D.C. and Cincinnati, Ohio. She's the author of numerous books on relationships, marriages, singles, and adult siblings. And her most recent one is the one I just mentioned, Why Don't You Understand? A Gender Relationship Dictionary. And she also does a lot of retreats for women, and also is a regular friend of our Sunday night family, my colleague, Dr. Eli Karam. Dr. Karam is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's a clinician specializing in couples and family therapies. He has a private practice. And on top of that, he's with the University of Louisville's Kent School of Social Work. And, you know, I spent a lifetime with the Kent School of Social Work. And so my colleague, my good friend Eli, is currently the president-elect for the Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, and he is an assistant professor in the family therapy program at the Kent School of Social Work. And he does research on couples and family relationships, supervises therapists in training. So welcome to both of you. Dr. Lewis, nice of you to join us. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Cincinnati at this moment. Yes, and I'm also a member of AMFT, so I'm delighted to have a chance to have Eli on the phone with us.
That's it, our president-elect.
That's right. Good to be back a part of the Sunday night family, Dr. Stan. A pleasure as always.
Great to see you, Dr. Karam. Dr. Lewis, tell us a little bit about...
By the way, you can call me Karen.
Thank you. You can call me Dr. Frager. No, I'm teasing.
Okay.
I'm teasing you. Although they do say Dr. Stan a lot. Okay, tell me, Karen, about gender relationship. We've heard the men are from Mars, women are from Venus, etc. Why this, and what's the purpose?
Well, at this point, there are probably not very many people left in America who've not heard of Mars and Venus, and who say, oh yeah, men and women are so different. But what I've found is that just because people say that doesn't mean that they really have a sense of what happens when they are talking with each other that reflects some of the differences in men and women. So I found myself just repeating the same thing over and over again in my office, and finally one day I started taking down notes of different words that were causing conflict where the men and women thought they were saying the same thing. They were using the same words, but having conflict. As a result of that, I ended up with 80 words and phrases that have different meanings for men and women. The most obvious one, but everybody knows this, is intimacy. You know, that's just sort of a throwaway one. But there are all so many others that have such a...
Now, come back. Why do you say that's the one most misunderstood? Intimacy.
Oh, no, it's the most known, the most understood.
The most known, most understood.
Yes, because everybody knows that when men say intimacy, they're referring to making love or having sex. When women talk about intimacy, they're talking about an emotional connection. Although many women choose to use the word intimacy to refer to lovemaking also, but they're very clear that for them, intimacy has an emotional component. But everyone knows that. As I say, though, there are all these other words that, and because, let me go back, and because they know that these are the differences, they translate them. Women can use the word intimacy to mean whatever. It can mean for her to make love, or it can mean emotional connection. Men know that that's what women mean by it. So this is an example where the words have different meanings, but men and women translate for it themselves. It's all these other words that they don't know have different meanings, and therefore they can't make that translation and often end up either hurt or resentful or in conflict sometimes without even knowing how that happened.
In working with families, what are some of the words that most often pop up that the one person says, do you really mean that? Or they say, that isn't what I mean. Which are the words that seem to pop up the most?
Well, I can give you some words, but what might be more useful first is to talk about the very purpose of conversation is different, because that's sort of an overarching thing before we talk about specific words. The purpose of conversation for women, and if you line up 10 women in a row, at least 9 and a half of them are going to say the purpose of conversation is to communicate, to relate, to have a rapport back and forth. And if you line up 10 men in a row, at least 9 and a half of them are going to say the purpose of conversation is to express information, to get information, to something factual. So when a conversation starts and a woman starts talking about wanting some kind of connection, even I was driving on the highway today and a car, cut me off. She's not just saying, I'm driving and the car cut me off. She's saying, okay, now you're supposed to ask me something about this, and I'm going to tell you more about it, and we will have an exchange. The man hears the car cut her in half, and if she's okay, he might not say anything because he isn't worried. He knows she's okay. Or if he's worried, he'll say, are you okay? Did the car get hurt? And
did the car get hurt?
That's the end of the conversation. So, and something like that it happens so many times a day, so many times a week, that most of the times couples don't even know what is going on, but a piece of each time, the woman begins to feel a little resentful. Well, he doesn't care. He didn't ask me. I asked him what he thought about President Obama's speech the other night, and he told me. Yeah. He didn't ask me what I thought about it. I didn't just want him to tell me what he thought. I wanted to have an exchange. The man heard a question, and he answered it.
Have you used your little guide with clients?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, actually, the book comes with little directions also for how to use it. There's a grid in back, a personal inventory, if you will, that lists all the words, and then the husband and wife, or the man and woman, it can be married or people living together or just dating. It can also be brothers and sisters. It can be bosses and employees, any cross-sex relationship. They can pick the words that each one feels may be a problem for them. Dirty fighting, nagging, silence, questions. I just rattled off a few of them. And if it's a problem, then they put a check. So the man may have 5 checks, and the woman may have 12 checks. Women always have more concerns than men. That's another issue. That's a difference. So that it's an opportunity then for them to, one, see, boy, there are 80 words here, and we only have 5 or 8 that are problematic. That's often reassuring. But it's also an opportunity then to go look at the words that each one feels are problematic and begin to talk about what we can do.
Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah,
Karam.
despite kind of the statement that John Gray made popular that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, empirical studies on sex and gender differences indicated that men and women are much more similar, Dr. Stan, than they are different. However, I think what happens, and the point of hopefully Karen's book, is that these successful couples have the ability to make meaning when there are differences in interpretation. And successful couples, couples not in conflict, have a greater likelihood of doing that. And I think the product of any good book or self-help is to how to couples make sense of these differences in meaning. But really, what men and women want, connection, a partner, it's really not that different. And again, we have lots of hard science in the field of, couple longitudinal studies from Dr. John Gottman that show that, really it's not true that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. It's actually, they're a lot more similar than we think.
What do you think, Dr. Lewis?
There is no doubt that there are different kinds of research. So I'm very familiar with Gottman, as well as Deborah Tannen, who did communication research before Mars and Venus, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hang on.
Okay.
And I'll let you finish your thought when we get back. And we'll talk about, is there a difference or isn't there a difference? And we'll talk about that when we get back. I'm talking with Dr. Karen Gail Lewis, author of Why Don't You Understand? And Dr. Eli Karam from the University of Royal Marriage Family Therapist. I'm Dr. Stan Frager, and we're all here for you at WGTK.
Calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Frager.
You found Let's Talk with Dr. Stan Frager. Dr. Stan Frager is standing by to give you insight on issues that matter most to you. Call now, 571-0970.
All right, hi and welcome. With us tonight, Dr. Karen Gail Lewis, author of Why Don't You Understand? We're talking about relationships, and we're talking about men and women, and is there a difference or isn't there a difference? And also marriage and family therapist, president-elect of our
Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, KAMFT.
That's the plug for tonight. Dr. Eli Karam, my good friend and buddy, and a regular guest with our Sunday night family. In fact, on those rare occasions when I can't be here, he's the man who holds it down for me. So it's great. Dr. Lewis, tell us some more.
Okay, I want to get back actually to what you were saying, Eli, because I'm glad you had said that, talking about Gottman's studies, because what happens is that I do think, from my experience, I do find that men and women want the same thing. They have a different language sometimes of trying to express it, and they go about trying to get the same thing in different ways. So I don't have any question that they both want the same thing. And I also want to say that, and I should have said this probably first, that if there's not a problem in communication, there's not a problem. As simple as that. My dictionary hopefully is useful for when there is a problem. And for only for those times and for those people where there are problems in communication, then it becomes a really helpful tool, if you will. I was going to give an example of advice, which I can't imagine there probably is not a single one of your listeners who doesn't know that women don't, when they have a problem or upset about something, they don't want a man to give advice, and men know that, right? No question. And yet, even though men know that, they still do it. So one of the things that I talk in the dictionary has the words, and then it has a paragraph or two that explains the differences for men and women, and very often how you can navigate those differences.
Right. I think it comes to a difference in expectations. And couples, when their expectations are clear and transparent versus hidden, do much better. So this idea that men expect that because they're analytical and problem solvers by nature, their partner would just assume that they want someone to problem solve. When many times, as Karen was saying, they just a female wants someone to listen or just to be a container for that venting. So I think again the skill is, and when you use an aid like this book, it's when a problem comes up, how do you just not take for granted or go on assumptions that you have your blueprint for a relationship or what's helpful to you? How do you take a step back and ask your partner what's going to be helpful to them?
Right. So for men to be able to read that when, in fact, they are, well, let me back up even first, that men give advice because, for the most part, because they're caring. You know, a woman gets off the phone with her sister and she's upset, or with her daughter or whoever, and the man will say, well, here's what you need to do. And he's doing that not to be controlling. He's doing it because he cares. He wants to be helpful. And the way men try to be helpful is by offering some ideas and expertise and solutions. They're very concrete for the most part. What men don't understand is that when they are offering this out of caring, that the woman hears it as, you must think I'm so stupid that I couldn't have figured that out myself. So the women don't hear that the man is offering caring, and the men don't hear that the women get their suggestions as if they don't know how to solve their own problem.
Right. The couple longitudinal couple research will kind of refer to what Karen's talking about as a negative interpretation. That couples, when they're connected, again, you assume the best in your partner, so when they're making a statement, you either take it in a neutral or positive way, versus when you're a little disconnected or out of sync, you make a negative attribution on what your partner said. So we see that a lot. Another thing I'd like to bring up that is when we ask what are some differences that the empirical research would show, there's a common pattern for every couple. Maybe you've had it in your own relationship if you're a listener out there, called what we call demand withdrawal. It means when one partner really pursues, they really want to have a conversation with you, and the other partner kind of shuts down, what John Gottman would call stonewall or withdrawal. And we find in conflict situations, generally it is the woman that is the pursuer more often, and the man, not because they don't care a lot of times, just because...
So what do you recommend to them when they're in that situation? I mean, I have some clients right now in that situation.
Right. First, you have to know the pattern. You have to know when...
And that's the pattern. The woman...
Right.
Constantly says, we go out to dinner, he won't even talk to me, and so forth.
Right, but when couples, again, this is where the shared meaning part comes in, because if you think your partner is just completely avoiding you and ignoring you on purpose, that makes you pursue more, and the more you pursue, the more... escalated things become, the more flooded you become. So the skill is to know when that pattern's coming and be able to take a time out. And again, too, for people to understand that, in fact, this research shows many times these couples, even though the person that's shutting down might seem like they don't care at all, inside they're going nuts. Gottman hooked all these people up to measure their galvanic skin response, their heart rate, everything like this, and showed even though stereotypically the woman is having... a rage and pursuing and getting angry on the outside, really it looks like the exact same thing on the inside, Dr. Stan, that both the people are physiologically flooded, they're in conflict, and the skill would be to see that pattern, be able to take a time out, and you can only have these type of repair talks, these talks where you get to some shared meaning when things are calm.
Dr. Lewis, what do you think about is going on when a woman nags her husband, boyfriend, whatever?
Well, it's related actually to what Eli was just saying, that in her mind it's not necessarily nagging. She has, for instance, asked the man to change the light bulb, and he said, sure. But that's it. He's just said, yes, I'd do it. So she asked him again, have you done it, or when will you be doing it? And he says, yes, I'll get to it. Leave me alone, I'll get to it. And then it isn't done, so she asks again. So it evolves into what is called nagging, when in fact it would be much simpler for her and for him if he would say, or she were to be more specific, if he were to say, I will get to it. It's not on the top of my list unless it's an emergency. It's further down on my list, and I'm going to get to it after I do these other things. Or she could say, can you do it by Saturday? So it clarifies the communication, it makes it clear, and she doesn't have to be, quote, nagging, and he doesn't have to be the recipient of hearing it and ignoring her, which then annoys her, which makes her nag more. So it's a cycle.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also for couples with this change the light bulb story, that's like the tip of the iceberg for some couples. For others, it is the hidden meaning under that. It's not just about changing the light bulb. It means these existential questions between all couples. Are you putting as much into this relationship as I am? I've been doing all this other stuff. All I'm asking you to do is change the light bulb. Are you invested as I am? So it takes on a larger meaning, and I think when couples can have this meaning-making conversation and they can understand each other, they can get to the hidden meaning underneath the surface issue.
All right. Talking with Dr. Karen Gail Lewis, Dr. Eli Karam, and I'm Dr. Stan Frager. And we're all here for you. The lines are open. We welcome your calls, 571-0970. What kind of issues are you having with your partner? We'll talk about it. Not only do you get free help tonight, but a complimentary copy of Dr. Lewis's book, All that and more. 571-0970. We'll be right back.
Talk with Dr. Stan Frager, helping you make sense of life's daily challenges and much more on 970 WGTK.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without pride. Now I want to understand. Doctor, my eyes.
All right, talking with Dr. Karen Gail Lewis and Dr. Eli Karam. I'm Dr. Stan Frager. The lines are open. We welcome your calls. What kind of hassles, conflicts, challenges do you have with your partner? What's going on? 571-0970. We'll also send you a complimentary copy of Dr. Lewis's book, which is Why Don't You Understand? A Gender Relationship Dictionary. 571-0970. We're in the 502 area code, and we welcome your calls and challenges. And you get some great help tonight. Although I'm finding people are sometimes reluctant to share with us what challenges they're faced with. Have you found that happens, Dr. Lewis?
Well, probably not for me, because by the time they are in trouble enough and they call me, they want to get some help. So presumably they wouldn't be coming to me if they weren't willing to start sharing.
Well, tell me, let's go back to your premise. What other words do you find whose meaning is habitually different from the way men interpret the word versus women? So a man says, I'm really lonely. He really means, I want to be intimate and have sex with you, or can mean that. Woman says, I'm lonely, and she really means I want to talk with you. I want to be close to you.
Exactly.
What are some of the other words that
Some of the others, silence is another one that sometimes some couples work it out fine, and some couples have real conflict with this, that the men very often feel the closest when they are just sitting with somebody. There's always the joke of the men go out and sit in go fishing, and they may or may not talk the whole day and come back and say they had a great time together. And what I have found in my practice anyway is that men feel really comfortable sitting in the same room with a woman, even if they're doing some woman they love, even if they're doing something entirely different. They're reading, or they're one's watching TV and the other is sewing or something. And the man will often say, why don't you come sit with me? And the woman, he just wants her presence. The woman very often feels, why would I want to come sit with you if you're not going to talk to me?
Right,
I got too many other things to do.
These nonverbals are very important.
It's not a sense of connection for women, whereas for men, it can be a very intense form of connection.
Right. So if you're with your partner and you give them a squeeze on the hand or you look in their eyes, it's very different than just sitting in the room engaged in a independent activity, not even referencing your partner. But again, that's just different in expectations of, being together takes on many forms. And for some couples, they can be in the same room, just being together without having to be engrossed in a big dialogue. But it all comes to kind of knowing your partner. If you feel connected, if you have knowledge of your partner's worldview, and really long after the intimacy, physical intimacy that is, fades, all of the marital research in these long-term pair bonds says the same thing. It says the friendship component is the most important part of the relationship. So knowledge of your partner's world. And if you feel connected to your partner, if you're not operating on out-of-date knowledge, you know what's going on. You can tolerate sitting in the same room with your partner without having to be engaged in a long dialogue. That being said, if you go your whole relationship without keeping up with your partner's world, without the kind of what's up doc question, as John Gottman would say, you do feel disconnected. So how couples navigate that is different. And I think those are another expectations that have to be clear. You need to talk to your partner about, how much time should be spent together versus how much time should be spent alone. And you should know what's going on with your partner. And I think women that feel like they can ask their husband or their partner what's going on, even if they might not do it all the time, feel more comfortable in their relationship than women that don't have a good model for that. If they ask their partner what's going on and they freeze up or give them one-word answers. I think another question is, Karen, when you're working with women, because I was checking your website and you work with a lot and you do retreats and work with a lot of single women, or do they find that it's hard to get their partner on board with this in your work? Because a lot of men say, well, I don't have a problem, or we're doing pretty good. Why do you want to go to therapy, or why do you want to get help? So I think there could be some people that, whereas the woman could find this information very useful, the man might not look at it with the same amount of urgency. Do you find that with your clients?
Yes, I do. Now, I would say one reason that the dictionary is very short. It's big print, pictures in it, so it's easy to use. One of the words I use in the dictionary is, one of the phrases is the shoebox and the mantle.
Well, I'll tell you what, hang on. As soon as we get back, we'll find out about shoebox on the mantle. How's that? Talking with Dr. Lewis, Dr. Karam, and we'll be right back.
9-7.
Dr. Fine, Dr. Frager.
You found Let's Talk with Dr. Stan Frager. Dr. Stan Frager is standing by to give you insight on issues that matter most to you. Call now, 571-0970.
And welcome. I'm psychologist Stan Frager, and every Sunday night we get together. It's been a very special time. Dr. Lewis is with us, and we're talking about a whole bunch of different things. And during that little break, first of all, we want to hear about the shoebox on the mantle.
Okay. I mentioned this in context of what we were talking before about how women do tend to move more into trying to elicit a conversation from men. The fact is that the image that I use is that if a man has something special, he very gently wraps it up in tissue paper and puts it into a shoebox very gently, very carefully, closes the shoebox, and very gently taps it under the bed. And he knows where it is. He doesn't have to go look at it. He doesn't have to take it out and play with it or pay attention to it. He knows it's there, and that's special to him. Women have something special. They put it on the mantle. They go and dust it, they rearrange it, they turn it this way, they turn it that way. People come in and they want to show it to them. And if there's something special, being the metaphor for the relationship, women need to pay more attention to it. Men, for the most part, do it internally. They know it's there. They don't have to talk about it or do a lot of verbal around it. And this, unless men and women understand this difference, the women can feel he doesn't care about me.
Can you give us an example from like a common issue or something in your practice that you've seen with kind of shoebox and mantle?
Oh, goodness. All the time, yes. Even something about how was your day? Although that may not be the best one, but that's the one that came to mind just now. So how was your day? And she would ask him, and he would say, it's fine, and not say very much more about it. She might talk about her day, if you were to ask her, and use a lot more words around it, and use a lot more words about what she liked and what she didn't and what was helpful and what wasn't, and it becomes, oops. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. So you were saying that it becomes something much more for her, that when you when the man says fine, had a great day, and he's done with it, and the woman is saying a whole lot more, because the asking of the question is a way of paying attention to the relationship. I could have used an example of on their anniversary. He might say something very, very nice about, I'm so glad I'm married to you, and she wants, and will spend a lot more time with other things that she would say about their time together. I mean, there's show that women use a lot more words than men.
Right, and sometimes. Okay, go ahead.
One thing I would like, there's all kinds of talks and books about communication and how to help couples with relationships. I would like your listeners, though, to end tonight with one thing that they can do differently. And if I can, I'd like to go back to the example of advice.
Sure.
That if the woman is having a bad day or having a problem with something and she wants to talk about it, if she says first, I want to tell you what, I want to talk about what's going on, and please don't give me advice until I'm through. I'd love to hear your advice, but do you mind waiting until I finish talking? So she tells him what she needs. She doesn't just start doing it and then wait for him to come in and with advice and then be annoyed at him. However, if she doesn't do that, he could be saying, I have a suggestion. Would you like to hear it, or would you rather me wait until you're finished? And if each knows, it's what Eli was saying, if you know your partner well enough, but you need to know what to be saying. So asking, is this what you want right now? If not, I'll wait, for the man, or for the woman to be saying, here's what I would like to happen first, and you can give me your ideas when I'm through talking. It cuts out a lot of hurt and resentment that the woman feels he doesn't care and the man feels his ideas aren't being appreciated.
Right, you're absolutely right. Nobody gets into a relationship when we're marriage and family therapists are working with couples. By and large, the goal initially is not to screw the other person over. People are both trying to be helpful to your partner. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to be helpful to your partner but missing the signal in a kind of bid for connection. So again, if you make those expectations clear from the get-go, both people feeling like they're being helpful, and you give your partner what you need, versus if you just go on autopilot or assume you'll do what would be helpful to you, it might not always be helpful for your partner. So I think Karen is right. You got to be really specific in those requests when you make it to your partner around listening, especially.
And along with that, Karen, what about people? A lot of times you get into relationships and one of the partners always wants to prove that they're right and you're wrong. What do we do there?
Well, you know, I don't know about you two men, but I have rarely ever have I had an argument where I knew I was wrong and I argued for the sake of arguing, even though I knew I was wrong. Most people present their point assuming their point is correct. So it gets into a one-up battle of who's going to be more in control, who's going to outlast the other and prove I'm more right than you. This particularly is not a gender issue, although some women back down a lot sooner, but not all the time. A lot of men back down also, so that isn't specifically gender. But what I've done to help couples with this, because it does become such a competitiveness, that the point of what they're discussing sometimes loses any significance. I remember one couple were arguing about the fastest way to get from their home to the drugstore. And they were each insistent that they were right. Later turned out they were both right. One was talking about the fastest with miles, and the other was talking about the fastest by the clock.
One was talking shortest miles, the other fastest time.
Right. And what I have done then with many couples to show the absurdity of some of this is to have them keep track, to put up on their icebox or door a chart, and they take turns. It's my day to be right.
For a lot of these couples, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about validating where your partner's coming from is much more important. If we found out 69% of marital problems aren't even solvable, they're perpetual issues. So validating the understandable part of where your spouse or significant other is coming from, that's essential.
A little bit of station business, and then we'll be right back. I'm Dr. Stan Frager with Dr. Eli Karam and Dr. Karen Lewis. We're all here for you at 970.
Now, let's talk with Dr. Stan Frager, helping you make sense of life's daily challenges and much more on 970 WGTK.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without pride. Now I want to understand. Doctor,
All right. It's been a fascinating night talking with Dr. Karen Gail Lewis, author of Why Don't You Understand, a Gender Dictionary, Relationship Dictionary. And by the way, again, all of this can be found at Frager.com, F-R-A-G-E-R. Go to www.frager.com. Tips from Tony and Dr. Stan, and ace researcher Tony Safina puts all kinds of neat links up there, but all the information on how to reach Dr. Lewis and how to reach Dr. Karam, their websites. Dr. Karam's website is Multi-Care Center.
No.
Oh, no, that isn't you. Here we go. www.elikaram.com will work much better. That was Dr. Kuhn who'd been on the first time. So it's elikaram.com, and Dr. Karam, be glad to see he sees private clients, and also he's a professor at the University of Louisville. And Dr. Lewis has about 15 different websites. You have a lot of websites, Dr. Lewis.
Well, the primary one, you can get to everything through the primary one, which is my name, drkarengaillewis.com.
Good. Okay. And all of that's
actually,
up there.
you can even, and for people who don't have a lot of patients, you can go drkgl.com. You'll get there just as easily.
Cool. Very cool. Well, that's very nice. Hey, it's been great having you with us. I want to thank you, and I want to wish you good luck with the books. And I know you have a number of books. And any last thought that you'd like to convey?
Just that it is wonderful to be able to speak in a way that you feel good about yourself and to feel like you are being heard. Whether you're the man or whether you're the woman, you really want to feel like what you're saying someone cares about and is listening and wanting to hear what you have to say.
Well said. Great way to end it up. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. And Dr. Karam, as always, great to have you with our Sunday night. You're a regular friend of our Sunday night family.
Always great to be with you, Dr. Stan.
Yeah. And want to thank Tom Mitchell, our ace #1 engineer board operator. Thank you, Big Tom. Kate Chwanski is our producer, #1 ace producer. Tony Sfina, ace media researcher. Be sure and check out Frager.com. Tips from Tony and Dr. Stan. Debbie Ramsey from Salem Group, Brian Hart Vixen. If you like our webpage, Frager.com, check out Brian Hart Vixen. And we want to welcome our 3 new assistant interns, Adis Selimovic, Alan Jenkins, and Rebecca Kaufman. I probably butchered that name up. Terrible. Selimovic. Well, by next week I'll learn how to pronounce it. What can I tell you? But welcome, Adisa. Or Adiza. Oh, my goodness gracious. One thing you do in radio, you're supposed to check that out ahead of time. Well, what can I say? All right. So we want to thank them. But Alan Jenkins and Rebecca Kaufman, that was easy. But they're doing a great job, and welcome on board. Appreciate their help. And Dr. Karam, what's new in your future coming up?
We got the semester starting tomorrow at U of L. Dr. Stan, we're working on that big pregnancy prevention grant at the Kent School called CHAMPS, which stands for Creating Healthy Adolescent Prevention Services. Yeah, Dr.
Huge.
Anita Barbie, largest in the history of the Kent School.
Oh, it's great. I'm so proud of her and the Kent School. Makes us all feel proud. Well, I'm Dr. Stan Frager, and it's always great to have you. Coming up, we're going to be discussing next week dating and sexuality. Hey, it all starts at 8 next week. See you then.
970